So as I promised in last week's video, this week I'm sharing another incredible soup recipe, and it's going to be with this amazing and simple to make homemade biscuits that are just simply delicious, and I cannot wait to share them with you. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, or if you are new to my channel, hello, I'm Vesta and this is You and Me Equals 3. On my channel, I share recipes that you can share, that you can enjoy with your children, both young and old. So if that sounds interesting to you and you have not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. At the end of this video, if you find it helpful, make sure you share it with another woman with kids and give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section below what you think, and I hope you enjoy this recipe, and so keep on watching. So starting off, this is me right after breakfast, and I was still in my pajamas, just like many moms at home. And I'm going to start off with my leeks, and they are big, they are fresh looking, and then we'll also use some celery. So for the leeks, I'm going to cut the green part off, and I'll save that for later for something else, not the soup. So cut it off, and we will be using just the white part. And what will you do if you cannot find leeks? Leeks is in the onion family, so if you cannot find leeks, just use onions in place of the leeks. Take two big onions, and that should be fine. So wash the white part and then peel the first layer of skin and cut the stem away. And what will you do if you cannot find the celery? Because we are using celery in this recipe. If you cannot find the celery, just skip it. This recipe is a combination of leeks, celery, potato, and 2 cloves of garlic. So if you cannot find the celery, just leave that out. If you cannot find the leeks, leave that out and use onions, and your soup will taste just as good. Taking 2 celeries, and I will cut the stem part away, and then for the top part I'm going to break the top and then peel that skin off, because that skin is very tough. So you just break the top and then you run it down to peel that off, and we'll keep prepping. And now for the potatoes, I'm going to use the Yukon Gold kind, but you can use any kind of potato that you have, but please do not use sweet potato, because I have never used it for soup and I don't know how it will taste like. As you can see, this potato was going bad, but it is perfect for this soup, so yeah, I used it. I have washed my potatoes and I'm giving them a quick peel and keep on prepping. Now I'm slicing the leeks in half, and I'm going to go through each leaf to make sure that there are no sand, because leeks are known for having sand in them. So that's what I'm doing here, because you don't want to make your soup and then you're eating it and your mouth, it tastes like you bite into sand. That isn't a good feeling. So that's what I'm doing here. give it a chop after checking, and we are close to starting the soup. Once you are done chopping the leeks, you're going to do the same with the celery. You chop them up, and then for the potatoes, you will put them in, you take a bowl and fill it with cold water and cut the potatoes into bite sizes into the cold water. And I did that because I was going to prep all this and then go take a shower and come and make the soup, so we have it for lunch. So that is the secret. If you want the potatoes to stay fresh and not turn brown, put it in some cold water as you're cutting them, and that will keep them fresh. And after that, we will peel the garlic and cut it up as well. And yeah. Ingredients have been prepped and they are all ready to go, and I am going to use some stock here, and I have a turkey stock, but you can use a vegetable stock if you're a vegetarian. You can use a beef stock, you can use chicken stock, or you can simply use water, but know that the taste will not be the same as if you use a stock. And I'm going to do another video to show how I make my homemade stocks. So if that sounds like something that you are interested in, let me know in the comment section. And I'm going to start off with a clean pot, and it's a medium size, and I'm going to turn on my burner to medium. And right now I was looking for my wooden spoon and I couldn't find it, and then I finally found it. So to this pot, I'm going to add a little bit of oil, and I'm using sunflower, but you can use any oil, just not olive oil because it has a strong taste. But you can use olive oil if that is what you prefer. And to that, I'm going to add all the cut vegetables, the leeks, the celery, the garlic, and then in the end, I will drain the cold water from the potato and I will add it to it. But before that, we will give this a stir and cook it for about 3 minutes until the leeks reduce in size. You will literally see them reduce. So yeah, keep on watching. Soup is getting closer to becoming a real soup. So now the potatoes have been added, and I'm going to saute this for another like 3 minutes. Then I will add in some black pepper and some salt, and then we'll add in the stock then. As I always say in my recipe videos, be mindful of how much salt and pepper you use in your cooking when you're cooking for kids that are younger, like toddlers, 10-month-old, 1-year-old baby. Just be careful. Do not use too much salt. Do not use too much pepper. I mean, do not use pepper at all. And then when the soup is done, you can grind a little bit of pepper in yours. Because my kids are older now, my youngest is 5, so I know what they like, I know how much spice they can handle. And as far as salt goes, I use very, very little salt. And for the stock, just put enough stock to cover everything, but do not, if you want it light, then you can use more stock. And I will leave a link to the full recipe in the description box. You can check that out, and there you will see the exact amount of every ingredient that I used in this recipe. So we are going to cook the soup for 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. And in the meantime, we will start prepping the biscuits. And I have a little bit of spring onions, and I'm going to cut that up. And then I'm going to also use some carrot, and I will grate that. So I think we can all find carrot and we can all find spring onions. And if you happen to not find spring onions, just cut a little bit of onion. And like I said, the recipe will be linked down below, and you will see the exact amount of all the ingredients. I have some all-purpose flour, and the spring onions is going in there. I'm going to grate the carrot, and it will also go in there as well. And then we will add all the dry ingredients and start making the biscuits. So I'm just using a wooden spatula to just stir this in real quick, and then I'll add in my baking powder, baking soda, and salt, plus a little bit of sugar. And then I'll give it a whisk. And like I mentioned, I am using all-purpose flour here for the biscuits. And my soup is done, so I turned my burner off, and I did push it off the burner. And I'm going to cut in some really cold butter into my flour mix. So that's what I'm doing here. The butter has to be very cold. And for the biscuits, I'm going to use some cream yogurt here. Normally I use buttermilk, but I didn't have any today, so I'm using cream yogurt. But that's how versatile these biscuits are. They are very easy, and you don't have to get the ingredients exactly like, I don't know. So instead of yogurt, you can use normal milk, you can use buttermilk, you can use cream fresh, or you can use just water, okay? And yeah, you have a lot of options to choose from. You cannot say, oh, I don't have yogurt, so I cannot make it. Yes, you can. Just use water, or just use milk, or just use buttermilk, or just use almond milk, okay? Use some milk, use some water, and you will be able to make this delicious biscuit for your family. So add the yogurt to the butter and the flour mixture. Take 1 egg, the egg also has to be cold, and whisk it, and then add to this. And then I'll use the spatula just to start the mixing and switch that. And using clean hands, I'm going to combine everything until it forms like a dough, but you shouldn't overwork it, because if you overwork it, then your biscuits are going to be tight and tough, and you won't be able to bite. You will break a tooth while biting. We don't want that. So yeah. And also you will see that I was, when I formed the ball, I had a little bit of flour in my bowl that wasn't formed yet. So I will add a little bit of milk and form that as well. You can do the same thing. If you find that you have most of the dough in a ball form, pick that up, and the remaining dough that you have in there, just add a little bit of milk or a little bit of yogurt or whatever you're using, and form that and add it to what you have already, the dough that you have already formed. I don't know if I make sense, but I think you get what I mean. Plus you can see it from the video. So now I'm going to use an ice cream scoop, just like this, to scoop out the biscuits. And I will put them on a baking tray that I'm going to line with parchment paper. If you do not have an ice cream scoop, use a big spoon to scoop the dough out. What you don't want is to use your hands to just take pieces and like form them in your hands like a round shape. You don't want that, because then you're handling it too much and it will make the biscuits tight and tough. So I'm just scooping onto my baking tray, and I'm going to put 9 at a time because you don't want to overcrowd it. This way they can all bake evenly in the oven. Or this is another option. You can use a pastry knife to just cut them into pieces and then bake them like that. That is also a good way to do it. Now we have formed the first batch, and I'm going to bake this in my preheated oven for 12 minutes. And after 12 minutes, I will flip the tray and then bake it for another 12 minutes. For the remaining dough, I scoop them onto a plate and we'll keep it in the fridge until the first batch is baked. And this is the green part of the leeks that I cut. I just cleaned them up, and I'm going to store this in my fridge and use them the next time that I make stock. So that's another way to use the green part instead of throwing them away. Now I'm going to get my liquidizer to prepare for creaming the soup. And you can use a liquidizer like this, or you can use a hand blender, and those are the kinds that you just put in the pot and you will just blend or cream whatever you want to cream. I'm just screwing my bottom here because I normally store my blender apart just so any mold doesn't build in it. So I will get my soup, and know that my soup has been cooling for 10 minutes, so it's not piping hot as I'm going to blend it. So I put the cover on, and I am using a tissue to cover the top instead of the plastic thing that goes in there, to allow the steam to escape, because although it has cooled, it is not totally cooled, And if you don't use something like this, if you use the stopper to put it there, the steam can blow it up and then you can hurt yourself. So that is why I am using a tissue there, in case anybody is wondering. As you can see, the first batch of the biscuits are done, and like I said, I did bake it for 12 minutes and then I took the biscuits out and then I flipped the tray over, meaning the biscuits that were in front went to the back, and then I baked it for another 12 minutes. So in total 24 minutes, and they are perfect. And I'm putting them on this wire rack for them to cool, and then my next batch will go on and we will bake them the same way like the first one. So in total, this dough made 13 biscuits. Weil dann habe ich schon hinter mir.
Aber erst wenn du das runtergeschluckt hast, ne?
Nur ein bisschen.
Now the soup has been pureed and I have washed the same pot, and I'm going to turn the burner on and then pour the cream soup inside it. And here you give it a taste if you need any extra seasoning, maybe a little bit more salt or a little bit more pepper. This is where you can do that. And then I'll add a little bit of cream, heavy cream to it. You don't have to do this, you can skip it. But the cream gives it that kick and takes the soup to another level. I always like to take my food to another level. Just add something and yeah. Add the cream. Let it just simmer a little bit until you see bubbles on top of the cream soup, and then this will be done, and we couldn't wait to eat. We were so hungry. garnish the leek and potato soup with a little bit of roasted sesame seeds, but you don't have to do this. You can totally skip it. Just use some chives, just use a little bit of the spring onions to give it a little bit of color. And go and enjoy this with your children. I hope that you find this video helpful and that you will try the soup, and you will let me know in the comment section. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.